Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity. And here on the desk is what we're going to make today. Yes, we are. This is the surprise creation ship's porthole, and I'm going to show you how it goes together. We're just going to do the cover. I'm not doing an entire album because you know me, I don't do editing, and I kind of like whatever it is I'm doing is from start to finish with no cuts. How's that? Just like Alfred Hitchcock, bless him. Right, so this is the back. This is the back of the die, and it's also the page of the die. Now, if you saw the haul, it's already been measured. You've got two holes here through which you can either thread ribbon and bow it, or you can use book rings. Entirely up to you. And of course, it makes a sweet mini album. Now, if I move my bits away so that I get them in the correct order. And of course, I am going to show you this in cardstock. The next thing that you would add is once you've cut that, is you add your porthole. So your porthole goes on top like that, and you've got all of those little sections, and those little sections are what you cover with your screws. Now, there are cross heads and there are Phillips heads, and oops, let's pick those up because the light is really bright and I'm not going to complain about that. So you can see you've got your sort of like straight heads and your cross heads, or what some people call a Phillips head screw, and they cover all of those little holes to make it really decorative. Now, you can of course do this in whichever way you want. It can be vintage, steampunk, it can be really cute, bright primary colours, lots of bright fishes. I'm doing it vintage today. And you also get your reinforcers to reinforce the holes, and you get two little sort of like faux closures. Now, those bits, so I'm looking around here and I feel like I've got a die missing. And I have. Where did I put that? Ah, I put it over to the side so I wouldn't get confused, and I ended up confusing myself anyway. So there we go. Right, next thing you would go on top of is this. So that is the hinge of your porthole, and these are your closures. And your closures are where you're going to glue those down, or you can use some brads so that it can be opening if you want to go into a lot of detail. And of course, these, your reinforcers, are what cover the holes up here and down here. And you do have enough screws to do everything. So you've only got to like run each one through once, or if you just want like the crosshead, run it through twice, and you'll have sufficient to do it. Now, you also get this ring, which is a top decorative ring, and that's the bit that goes on last and kind of gives it all a little bit of dimension. You also get this bit. Now, this bit is actually a hinge, and I did cut one, but I'm not using it today, and it will fold in half like that. And so where that goes, if you're going to use it, is underneath that piece. So you've got your decorative hinge on top. As you can see, it's embossed, and then the plainer one matches up. I'm going to flip it over so that you can see it like that. So then what happens is that piece can lift up and open, because that opens and closes. Okay, so that's the hinge if you want to use it. I'm not, so I'm moving them out of the way. Right, I have tried to be organised, which is often a fatal mistake for me. But I'm going to show you a few other bits and bobs. I'm just putting these over here that I'm using. Right, here's something that I tuck on the back of my desk, and I don't use it very often, even though I should. And these are my metallic gilding polishes, which I believe are from, yeah, Creative Expressions. One's graphite and one is gold treasure. And I've already used those. They're really easy. They come with a little sponge, and you just swipe them on your cardstock. And the cardstock that I've used today is all craft cardstock. And I also wanted to show you, you get a bunch of circles that come out when you cut them. So you get two the same and you get one a fraction smaller. So they're useful for using on additional pages, or you can just use them in other projects. Right, I've got my skinny tape here. This is a Lena Craft. I believe this one is 5mm. And I've got my lovely bottle of glue, and I've got the bits that I've already done, and we're going to lay them out exactly the way that I did the die. So using my gilding polish, there you go, I've used the gold, and I forgot what it was called. I'm going to call it anthracite. It probably isn't, but there you go. And just the edges, because they're going to be covered with my image, which, as I said, is going to be vintage. And your next step is going to be your porthole, your little brass bit. And it's important to line this up, because when you put this piece on, which is your next piece, you want your screw holes in between, if you know what I mean. I mean, you don't have to, but it just looks nice, unless you're gluing down these pieces, which I've also waxed, which is like your faux closures. But personally, I'd rather they go over a screw hole. So that's something to bear in mind, and I hope I don't forget about it. Now, my image is going to be a vintage mermaid, and that is a public domain image. All you've got to do is Google mermaid images and print yourself one out. And then I just used the porthole die to cut the paper, and I got this circle, of course, that dropped out. So I've got that lovely vintage image of my little girly mermaid. Right, now what I've also done, and you don't have to do this, is I used the porthole die again and cut a piece of acetate, and I actually trimmed it back so that I did get a bit carried away here and took too much off, but I've got just a little edge there where I can put some tape, and I am going to flip my paper over and I will fasten it to the back there using tape, so that when I flip it over, all of my rough bits that I cut are all hidden, and I will have a nice shiny mermaid porthole. So the first thing I want to do is measure up my mermaid. I just wanted you to see a close-up of that, and then I'll be using Alina's tape to stick that on. So the first thing I want to do, as I said, is put my image down, because I need that to be in the correct place. And so do you if you're going to make this. Now, pay no attention to where the holes are on your porthole. All you want to do is get that measured up so that you've got a correct border all the way around. And I'm just checking it on camera, and I'm not sure, but I think that's correct. Doesn't matter if you're a little bit off. Just, yeah, right. So hold your porthole where it is. Grab your image, put some glue on the back, and hopefully your glue bottle is working. And mine is. So I'm just squiggling on my glue. And then just hold your porthole so it doesn't move. Pop your image down where you want it. I think that's about right for me. And then you can just lift your porthole up. There we go. So our image is now stuck where we want it. Right, the next thing I need to do is put some tape onto that acetate and porthole. So I'm just going to run off and do that and show you when I come back. Right, so I've done that, and that is what it looks like. So that you can see the acetate is just, you know, overlapping the edge there. And if I flip it over, you've just got a shiny window, and I can see a little bit of fluff there already. So give it a blow. Get your fluff off. You don't want fluff on your porthole. Right, so we're going to need to use some glue to attach this. But as I was saying before, you want to line this piece up on top so that you've got your things where you need them first. So we're actually going to glue that onto there first. I think that is the best course of action, and then lining it up afterwards. So I'm just going to move my mermaid. Really quick and easy to do this one. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to apply my glue around my circle and hopefully not drip any where I shouldn't. That's right, it's never really easy for me to glue when I'm holding something up in the air. Just want to go around there and a little bit on there. Now, I didn't go all the way to the edges because those are the bits that get glued to the foundation here, and I didn't really want to glue anything to my mat, so I'm eyeballing the holes here, and I want to get those even. I think that's about it. And while your glue's still wet, you can squiggle it around and get it straight. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. Just go around the edge. I mean, I haven't been absolutely perfect on this side, I must admit. But we are going to lay another piece onto that. And then, of course, you need your mermaid. And I'm just going to run glue all around here and come straight back. Right, so I've got my glue on and I'm standing up so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to bring that into the centre there. And I just want to make sure that I'm getting this on accurate. Just move it around, find the edge of your image and that you've got an even border. And then we're just going to glue that into position. Right, the next thing I need to do is put some glue onto this ring, and this ring goes on here. So I'm going to do that and hold that, and I'll be right back. Right, so that's nice and dry, and I'll just go around the edges just to make sure. And it's just the finishing touches that we're going to do now. So we've got a lovely shiny porthole. We've got a little bit of wax and whatnot going on for a little bit of decorativeness. Now, you could, if you wanted to, pop some foam underneath this and you could turn it into a shaker. But I'm just going to stick with a classic vintage. And so the next thing that I need to do is to apply the little locks on my portholes. So I'm just going to put 2 little dots of glue either side of that hole. I'm going to use my trusty wax pickup tool. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to position it there. And the reason I'm having them in this position is because, to me, that indicates that the porthole is closed. So I'm just giving them a squeeze. And then I want screws on top of there. So I'm just applying a little bit of glue around the edges. My closures aren't quite dry yet, so they might slide about. And we're just going to grab a couple of screws and drop those on. Like that. I'm going to pick that up. These are the little details that make you happy. So we have to wait for those to dry. But what I will do is be brave and just squish them with my finger. And when you do that, you can often find that stuff glides out of position. So just use your fingernail and push it back. That's what I do. There, that'll do for that. Right, I need to pop the other screws in and I'll be right back. And there she is, all finished. inside of her nice shiny little porthole. You've got all the screws there and all the wax. And of course, you'd be cutting the back page, which is, I'll remind you, I'm just picking it up, is this one. And you cut as many of those as you want to, and they become all of your pages and also your back page. So the only thing really needed to finish it off would be to add book rings. And I've got just a couple here. I'm just going to slide those in. And, you know, you'd pop your extra pages on and you're all finished. But really easy, really. Once you know how it goes together, it's like everything. It becomes easy. Right. I thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to be up with more tomorrow from Surprise Creation. Do have a wonderful day, and as usual, all AliExpress links below. Bye.